Imagine yourself poised at that delicate boundary between awareness and slumber when your thoughts sway gently in the space of half dreams. In this moment, you discover the faint whispers of your own deepest shadows, those disquieting corners of consciousness that hold what we might call darkest psychology tricks. These are the subtle, sometimes unsettling tactics buried within our minds or wielded by others. From the illusion of control we cling to when chance seems ungovernable, to the manipulations of fear that keep us paralyzed at times. Although these tricks may sound ominous, they carry a paradoxical promise. If we engage with them calmly, acknowledging that such hidden forces exist, we can transform that knowledge into a gentle shield against self-deception. Over the next segments, we'll explore how our minds can distort our perceptions or lead us astray, revealing illusions we often accept as genuine. This inquiry is meant not to sow fear or unease, but to grant a humble clarity and awareness that none of us is immune to mental misdirection. Instead of recoiling, we can choose to accept these subtle shadows, using them as stepping stones toward a more reflective, tranquil mindset, especially in the lull before sleep. Let us begin with a look at one of the most deeply rooted mental illusions, that quiet sense of personal influence we so desperately rely on when the world feels beyond our grasp. Think back to a moment when you felt certain you had some special sway over an outcome, tossing coins with just the right flick, or tapping a slot machine at a lucky rhythm, convinced your actions could shape fate. This quiet conviction is the illusion of control, a psychological quirk that persuades us we can steer random or external events simply by trying hard enough or performing small rituals. Classic experiments capture it perfectly. People rolling dice with a light touch if they want a low number, pressing harder when aiming for high, as though physical force or intention can dictate the result. While these habits offer a comforting sense of power, they're fundamentally deceptive, because reality isn't swayed by our hopeful tics. Yet we cling to this illusion for the reassuring sense that life is manageable, a feeling that can buffer anxiety until facts or circumstances prove otherwise, leaving us more distressed than before. There's a certain relief, however, in recognizing that not everything bows to our will. When we let go of the desperate need to orchestrate outcomes beyond our reach, we allow ourselves to move through life with less self-blame or frustration. In that gentle acceptance of life's unpredictability, we can even find a kind of grounding calm. Allow yourself a brief exhale and notice the tension that lifts when you stop wrestling with events you can't control. From here, we delve deeper into another kind of manipulation, one capable of turning reality itself into a shifting, uncertain landscape for someone else. Imagine a person unsure whether they truly recalled what happened last night or merely dreamt it, only to be told repeatedly by someone they trust that they are mistaken, that such an event never took place. The momentary doubt soon spirals into full-blown confusion as their memories clash with another's unwavering insistence. This disorienting experience captures the essence of gaslighting, a tactic of psychological manipulation where an individual systematically undermines someone else's sense of reality, often to exert control or maintain power. The term hails from the 1938 play Gaslight, where a husband dims the gaslights and denies any change, causing his wife to question her sanity. Over time, the victim of gaslighting may start to mistrust not just their perceptions, but their entire framework of self-belief. It's unsettling how deceptively easy this erosion of confidence can occur, especially when the manipulator claims concern or acts gentle on the surface. People subject to gaslighting may feel irrational for suspecting their own recollections, leading to a cycle of self-blame. Yet there is a quiet power in naming this tactic for what it is. The mere act of labeling it gaslighting can help reclaim one's grip on reality. While journaling facts and seeking honest feedback from neutral parties might sound simple, it offers a tangible anchor when someone else's narrative insists we're lost at sea. With each reassertion of truth, self-doubt loosens its hold, and we begin to rediscover the stability of our own mind. Now, as we continue into our exploration of the mind's darker corridors, we'll explore how we might forfeit all sense of agency, accepting a prison we learn to believe we cannot escape. Picture yourself confined in a small enclosure, trying every corner, only to find no route to freedom time and again. Eventually, your will falters. You stop trying, convinced that no effort could save you. This experience echoes the essence of learned helplessness, a phenomenon first observed in studies where animals, given unavoidable discomforts, ceased attempting to avoid them, even after the chance to escape finally appeared. In our human lives, the cage may not be physical, but can manifest in repeated failures or stifling environments, like a dead-end job or an emotionally draining relationship, where we come to believe that no action alters the outcome. The mind surrenders, and a heavy resignation sets in, draining both motivation and hope. Yet the act of naming this process can begin to dissolve its power. Once we recognize that our sense of paralysis might stem from repeated disappointments rather than actual futility, we can reevaluate and discover new strategies, even in the face of long-standing defeat. A moment of honest reflection reveals that our inner spirit, though suppressed, still has the potential to break free from that learned despair. Now, as we turn to the next idea, we explore how fear itself can become a formidable prison, one that is built, exploited, and often deepened by our own unspoken anxieties. Picture yourself alone late at night, stepping carefully through a quiet corridor. You hear a subtle creak in the distance. Your pulse surges, and in that split second, fear steps in before your logic has time to quell it. This reaction touches on how easily our minds learn to link neutral cues to anxiety or dread, forming what psychologists call fear conditioning. Think of it as a twisted echo of Pavlovian learning. In the same way, dogs learn to salivate at a bell. We can be trained to flinch or panic at a subtle noise, a scent, or even a casual remark if we've repeatedly associated it with something ominous or unpleasant. Many phobias, for instance, start as a single unsettling experience, an uncomfortably close encounter with a spider or a minor accident while swimming, and bloom into lasting terror whenever that trigger reappears. Over time, the brain links these stimuli and responses so seamlessly that we may not even notice how our feelings of safety slip away at the slightest hint of a threat. Yet this reflex, while natural, can be harnessed or even exploited. Anyone who's played on our fears for personal gain, whether in advertising or more insidious manipulation, knows the power of tapping into this primal wiring. When night falls and the world grows still, such anxious cues can loom larger, shaping our mood in ways we scarcely register. A soft echo in the hall becomes proof of lurking danger. An unkind word morphs into a sign of looming betrayal. By recognizing the process Simply naming our fears for what they are, we can shine a quiet light on that shadow. Instead of letting these reflexes spin us into panic, we can pause, label the rush, and breathe, reminding ourselves that not every sign of danger is real. Sometimes, that pause is enough to gently tame the reflex, easing us back into a state of calm. Now that we've felt how fear coils within us, let's step beyond the realm of frightened instincts and explore a subtler trap of the human mind, one born from illusions of confidence rather than the sting of dread. Picture a friend who attempts to play guitar at a gathering, brimming with confidence. They strum chaotically, oblivious to the off-key chords rattling the room, and yet they remain convinced they're on the verge of stardom. This cheerful but deluded display illustrates the Dunning-Kruger effect in action, a cognitive bias where individuals lacking skill often vastly overestimate their abilities. The reason is simple yet profound. Truly mastering a skill includes understanding its complexity, so those without depth of knowledge can't recognize their shortcomings. They see only a surface-level glimpse of the craft and believe they've conquered it. While it can be amusing to watch someone dance through life cheerfully ignorant of their blind spots, there's a shadow side lurking beneath the comedy. Overconfident people can project an aura of credibility that deceives others, leading to poor decisions, misinformation, or even harmful outcomes if their influence extends far enough. A leader who believes they understand economic policy when in fact they don't, for example, can cause lasting damage. Yet there's a gentle lesson hidden here. By recognizing the Dunning-Kruger effect, each of us can remain open to learning, staying humble in unfamiliar areas and seeking feedback from true experts. That stance, the willingness to accept we might know less than we think, helps dispel this cognitive trap, restoring a balance between confidence and reality. But sometimes our mental blind spots extend beyond personal self-deception. Instead of forging ahead under mistaken bravado, we might step back, letting a group's inertia paralyze us. Let's now explore how our own passivity, magnified by those around us, can feed a darker cycle of inaction. Think about passing a crowded street corner where suddenly someone collapses. You stop, uncertain, heartbeat quickening, yet no one else moves. You wait, scanning the faces around you, hoping someone more qualified or confident will intervene. This icy hesitation captures the bystander effect in full force. The more people present, the less each individual feels personally responsible to act. Each mind whispers, "Surely someone else will do something," or wonders whether the situation is serious if nobody else is reacting. Throughout history, tragic stories have emerged from such split-second assumptions, where urgent help arrived too late or not at all, because too many onlookers believed someone else would respond. In groups, responsibility becomes diluted, eroding both moral conviction and immediate practical sense. It's a sobering insight that our empathy or sense of duty can collapse beneath a silent consensus of inaction. Yet recognizing this pattern can also awaken a quiet determination to do otherwise. If you feel that tug of uncertainty, recalling that the bystander effect can seize everyone else just as it's seizing you, you have the power to move first. Sometimes, one person's swift decision to step in, making a call, offering help, shatters the collective freeze. That lone spark of action can inspire others to follow, freeing all from the self-fulfilling pause that keeps them stuck. So, While we may often underestimate how crowd psychology can neutralize individual impulse, understanding the bystander effect grants us the chance to break its hold. Next time a moment of crisis or confusion arises, you might well be that gentle catalyst who refuses to wait, who stands apart from the hush and says, I will step forward. Now, we turn to yet another way the mind twists situations. When our own shortcomings find a mirror in others, sparking blame and conflict instead of introspection. Picture the times we lash out at others for traits we secretly fear or despise within ourselves, unwittingly pointing the finger outward instead of inward. This impulse reflects the concept of projection, a mechanism where we assign our own hidden emotions or flaws to someone else, as though unloading an uncomfortable weight. In early psychoanalytic theory, Freud proposed that certain urges, too troubling for our conscious mind to accept, get displaced onto external targets, making them appear to originate outside ourselves. The result is a distorted view of both others and ourselves. We condemn a colleague for arrogance when in truth, we wrestle with the same pride, or we accuse a friend of lacking empathy while shutting off our own compassion. Such projection can wreak havoc on relationships. When two people stand in a swirl of accusations, each charging the other with flaws neither is willing to see in themselves, misunderstandings become entrenched, and real communication stalls. In calmer moments, however, a glimmer of insight may arise. The realization that the anger or disdain we feel might be rooted in our own neglected issues. A brief pause to ask, is there a chance I'm seeing my own traits in them? Can gently diffuse tension and guide us toward a more honest self-examination. Of course, this process demands courage. We must venture into the parts of ourselves we'd rather keep locked away. Yet recognizing that we're capable of projection doesn't have to be a grim admission. It can serve as a quiet gateway to empathy, both for ourselves and for those we hastily judge. Each acknowledgement peels back a layer of denial, revealing that what we reject outside may be precisely the shadow we should make peace with within. In the next step, we'll see how even our own mind can harbor clashing beliefs, stirring internal friction that keeps us restless, day or night. You tell yourself you're always truthful, but then a small untruth slips out, perhaps to spare someone's feelings, or to guard a private worry you're not ready to share. An uneasy knot forms in your stomach as part of you clings to your identity as honest, while another part acknowledges a lie. This inner tug-of-war is cognitive dissonance, the psychological strain that emerges when two contradictory ideas or actions collide within our minds. Classic research revealed how powerfully we strive to minimize this discomfort, whether by justifying our behavior, that lie didn't hurt anyone, or by tweaking our beliefs to make them fit more neatly together. Though it may appear as a trivial tension, cognitive dissonance can drive us to surprising lengths. We might shift our moral stance, deny facts, or rewrite personal histories, all to relieve the pressure of holding opposing truths simultaneously. It's a quiet process, often unnoticed, yet potent enough to reshape entire worldviews. Think of how you might rationalize splurging on an unnecessary expense right after vowing to be frugal, or how one might continue supporting a flawed cause because admitting regret feels more unsettling than carrying on. This dissonance can gnaw at us during late-night hours, prodding the mind into anxious loops that resist rest. Yet shining a gentle light on the phenomenon can itself ease the tension. When we pause and say, yes, I'm in conflict. Yes, I'm torn we take the first step toward harmony. By accepting that contradiction is a natural part of human complexity, we often find a strange tranquility, not by burying one side, but by letting both exist without hasty denial. With that acceptance, we might drift more peacefully into sleep, comforted by the knowledge that we can be both flawed and sincere in our attempts to reconcile who we are with how we act. Now, as our exploration nears its conclusion, let's see how acknowledging the darkness of these psychological tricks might lead us toward a deeper calm, rather than lingering in turmoil. Picture yourself exhaling slowly, the day's tensions receding, as you remember the paths you've taken through these psychological shadows, momentary illusions of control, the slow burn of gaslighting, the resignation that emerges from learned helplessness, the reflexive dread of fear conditioning, the unwitting confidence trap of Dunning-Kruger, the chilly stillness of the bystander effect, the subtle blame shifting of projection, the inner friction of cognitive dissonance. Each is a puzzle piece that, when recognized, helps form a clearer understanding of the human mind's capacity for both frailty and resilience. By softly confronting these darker corners, we learn that vulnerability isn't a flaw to hide, but a nudge to grow kinder toward ourselves and others. Sometimes, simply naming a phenomenon is enough to lessen its power. We see how the mind can stray into false assurance or paralyzing doubt, and we discover that self-awareness becomes our gentle lantern, lighting the path forward. In that light, it's possible to sink into rest without fixating on illusions or harsh self-critique, because we understand these patterns are universal. None of us escapes them entirely. Yet by admitting they exist, we transform their hold on us. No longer must we be blindsided by a manipulation we can't articulate or by a hopelessness we thought was absolute. Knowledge quietly loosens the grip of such phantoms. Now, as the hush of night deepens, let this realization cradle you. The same mind that can conjure up such tricks also carries the capacity to transcend them. Gently lean into this duality, acknowledging the shadows while easing into the soft wonder of rest. May these reflections lull you into a realm where you can observe your thoughts, neither denying nor surrendering to their darker edges, but letting them pass like faint clouds across a serene sky. Sleep well, under the watchful glow of awareness, as you explore the mystery that is your own remarkable mind.